Hey guys, I'm Justin with Legato Financial Group. Our firm is passionate about helping educate consumers, which is why we're powering the Gaining Interest podcast. The podcast of quick conversations with industry experts on topics that you want to know about, from sports to dining to healthcare and automotive, and really everything in between. It's hosted by one of the greatest local personalities that I've met, that's John Ramsey.
I'll tell you why I love this podcast, because it's all about community. We used to call it water cooler talk, and that no longer exists. But if it's interesting to you, it's interesting to us. We encourage you to tell your friends. As Justin mentioned, we're going to talk about everything under the sun. We will be gaining interest, and we appreciate you watching. Hello and welcome once again to Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial Group. Okay, it's holiday season. You're getting excited, family and friends. Maybe you have a friend coming in from out of town and you want to turn them on to the wonders of bourbon. Okay, now I don't know about you, but if you have a drink that costs over $15, I want an experience. I don't want this is okay. I want a wow factor. And the key is, well, this man knows the key. His name is Shawn Herbig, and he is the owner and also Chief Infusion Officer for Bluegrass Bitters. Chief Infusion Officer. I love it, John.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank
Welcome in, my man.
Thank you. Thank you.
For those who are not familiar, and I'm a little familiar, what exactly is a bitter?
No, that's a great question, and I get that all the time. The way I always say it is think about an old-fashioned. Okay, so an old-fashioned only has 3 ingredients. We have a great Kentucky bourbon or rye. Then what else goes in it? Well, you got to have a good bittering agent. That's your spice agent, your flavoring agent. Think about it like your spice cabinet if you're baking or cooking, right? Your salt, your pepper, your cloves, your garlic, all that stuff, right? So your bittering agent is that. The third ingredient you're going to have in that old-fashioned is going to be some sort of a sweetening agent, right? So those are your 3. So when we're talking about making a great old-fashioned, when we're talking about Bluegrass Bitters and a cocktail bitters and syrup company, we're talking about what are the other tools you need to make a great old-fashioned, because we already got that great Kentucky bourbon and rye.
There we go. Yeah, you're right. It's easy to find great bourbons, but the key to a fantastic drink is in the bitters. So it's my understanding, and help me out here, Shawn,
Sure.
that bitters are kind of botanicals. Is it like anything from bark to
all of the
spice?
above. All of the above. So bitters in their I'm going to say in their simplest sense, but there is no simple sense for bitters. But bitters are basically a spirit base. They don't have to be spirit, but they usually are. So you're going to talk about like a bourbon, or you might have an overproofed rum, or you might have some sort of like a clear base, almost like a higher proof vodka or an Everclear, or even like a vodka, something like that. But you're going to have some sort of an alcohol. And then with that, you are going to start to add all sorts of spicing ingredients. And that can be your cloves, your cinnamons, your peppers, your et cetera, et cetera. It can be fruits like oranges and cherries. It can be nuts like walnuts or pecans. And it can also be, yes, your bark. So it can be things like cinchona and cassia and all sorts of things that are just going to really, when they come together, make all sorts of crazy and wonderful spice combinations and flavor combinations.
You have an interesting history. I was able to read a bit about your resume. Behind every great cocktail is a great mixologist or a chief infusion officer, and a great intelligent woman. That happens to be your wife, Kathy, right?
You bet, absolutely. Yes, yeah. Yes. You want me to talk more about that, or is there a question there?
I do. I'm kind of interested in the both of you having, I guess, a passion and affinity for bourbon, and then it went from there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a great way to phrase it. I mean, even to say, there have been a couple articles, they said, home bartenders. I'm like, I don't know that I necessarily go there, home mixologists. Here's the thing. We just like a good bourbon drink. That's the bottom line, right? And Kathy is a wonderful, she's an absolutely brilliant human being. She is my best friend. I love her to death. We've been married 31 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. And one of the nice things about being married for 31 years is you're not afraid to say the truth. You're not afraid to say what's on your mind.
Okay.
So I've made plenty of bad drinks and heard about it. And I also made plenty of good drinks. And candidly, and I tell this story, years and years ago, I was sort of on this quest for the best old-fashioned, right? And how do we do it? And again, we've already said we're blessed in this state with great Kentucky bourbons and ryes. But it's how else do you do it? And what else do you put in there? And what are your ratios? And there's a lot of bad recipes out there, right? And so I'm like, well, that's not so good. And so we were all together, and there's a group of us. So it was me and Kathy, and then there's Sarah, she lives out in Owensboro, and there's JM and his wife Erin, they live in Bardstown. So the 5 of us get together all the time. So we just happened to be out in Owensboro. We're out at Sarah's house, and she had been working on her old fashions, and we get back in the car, and Kathy, we were driving back to Louisville, and Kathy goes, Sarah's Old fashioned is actually better than yours. Like, you know that, don't you?
That kind
And
of
I'm
hurt.
like, yeah, and I'm like, yes, honey, I reckon, yes, sweetheart, I know that, thank you. And, you know, and like when your spouse says something like that, man, it just kicks you in the rear end, you know? So it just kind of, I'm like, okay, fast forward. And that just kind of got it, right? It was really getting into the science of the recipes, the details, all of that, just starting to make all of these great flavors. I will say this. Now, Sarah's cocktails are as good as mine, or mine are as good as hers, because she's using Bluegrass Bitters
There you go.
ingredients. So they're the same. So that's a win-win there.
You know, I have, it's very apparent here that this is your passion. So, but when I read your body of work, your company, your successful company that enabled you to do and dive into your passion, really is kind of a good match. Because you're looking at analytics, research.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so I founded a company called IQS Research when I was 28 years old, so it was 26 years ago. And that is a research and data analytics firm, so it's high-end analytics, and frankly, it's a fusion of high-end analytics and consumer psychology is what it is. So we do a lot of work with Louisville Metro government, we do a lot of work with nonprofits, we do a lot of work around social issues like why do people, if they're food insecure, choose to go to a food pantry or choose not to go to a food pantry, even if they're eligible? So we start to tackle some really difficult and sort of sensitive topics like that. The new child care initiative, right? We've done a lot of research around that. And then we've done a ton of work, you know, for banks and medical groups and et cetera, right? So it's how do you sort of navigate that strategy? But in all the cases, it's how do human beings sort of think about and process their world? And I personally get really geeked about that. I love the nuance and the niche, not of the big picture, but of the tiny micro decisions, right? And candidly, and again, not to be too cliche, I think that sort of plays out with bitters. It really does, you know, because you're sitting there going, okay, you know, do I put this much cloves in or a little bit less cloves in? Do I put them in for 6 days or do I put them in for 5 days? I mean, those decisions matter. They make a big difference on the back end. So I love that. I love that super deep, niche-y nuance. You know, we were talking right before the camera started rolling. 1/3 of an ounce of smoky simple syrup or 1/2 ounce of smoky. It matters, and it varies based on what bourbon you're putting in. I get geeked on that. I love the nuance. I get so excited about that.
So there is a science to it, but nonetheless, there's also the taste bud side of it.
Amen to that.
What do people like? I mean, that's important. So here's what I want to. You got to help me out here. You mentioned your friend, I think, or Sarah.
Yep,
Sarah. Of course, your wife, Kathy. Okay, how do I get in one of your focus groups? I want to be one of those guys at the taste test. Can we make that happen?
We can make that happen. Yes, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. And you know, it's funny because when we were going through the R&D process, so this was a hobby for years, right? And here's the thing. I was already running a business, so I was happy with this being a hobby. I really was. And a lot of people are going, Shawn, no, you ought to do another business. You ought to do another. I'm like, yeah, sure, because I got so much downtime. So I'm like, why not, right? So finally decided to start the company in June of 24. And that's where we took it from this idea of going, okay, here's this recipe that tastes great. In fairness, you know, your bitters lab at home is going to have more variability. You can't actually sell those. The cottage laws don't let you make it at home and then sell it. So it's like, okay. So we started working with Flavor Man, right? So a bunch of food scientists. And we said, okay, here's the deal. No artificial flavors, no artificial colors, completely natural, as Kentucky sourced as it can possibly be, because we want it to be Kentucky proud. High quality flavors, and here's the other thing. We want them to stay on the shelf, super shelf stable, because one of the big things with bitters is when you batch them, they have a great flavor, and then that flavor profile tends to fall off super quick. And I said, I don't want that. And I want to achieve that. I want to achieve that flavor stability, that flavor profile stability. I said, but I want to do that without using anything artificial. And so that was a huge deal. So we were in R&D for 15 months. Right. It took a long time to sort of crack that nut and get it, but we think we did.
You have me so interested. So for those who are watching now and they're saying, okay, here comes the holidays, I want to make a Manhattan, a whiskey sour, an old fashioned. If they have bitters in the back of their liquor cabinet, throw them away. Bluegrass Bitters is where to go.
One, you want to use Bluegrass Bitters because we weren't on the market when you bought that other stuff anyway. So, and here's the thing too, I don't think bitters should have a birthday. They really shouldn't, right? If you're bitters, if you bought them, yeah, exactly. One, enjoy them. That's the whole thing. One, enjoy them, use them regularly. Understand how to use them. They're not that hard. And then here's the deal: if you've got a bottle and it's maybe 3/4 empty and it's 11 months old and you're getting back into the new holiday season, don't you deserve a fresh bottle?
Yes.
I mean, shoot, they're not that much money. Go buy another bottle. You deserve it. Come on.
You've
This
got
is
my
not
attention.
you. Hey, do it. Do it. We get so cheap. We look at it and we're like, oh well, this is good. I got this much of the bottle left. You do have that much of the bottle left, but come on. Look, we all work hard. Life can be tough sometimes. Throw the bottle of bitters.
Yeah,
away
and
a
get that
fresh
wow
bottle.
factor I was talking about,
That's
right?
right,
Yeah,
that's
I want a
right.
good cocktail.
Exactly.
So it's funny that you and your wife bonded over or bourbon and your love for a really good cocktail. My wife and I bonded over bourbon because she wants me to forget about me. It's like, okay, yeah, let me have a bourbon. Please give me a drink and go over there, John.
It serves many purposes. It serves many purposes. Yes, it does.
Now, okay, you have my attention. And I think you have everyone else's attention. Before we get into taste testing, and believe me, I'm dying to do so.
I'm wondering why you haven't picked up a glass. But you run the show, my friend. You do you.
Believe me, I'm looking at that right now. I'm starting to salivate a little bit. But I think it's interesting because Legato Financial Group also has this very same interest, that you have a real loyalty. I don't know if loyalty is the right word, but you want it to be Kentucky. You're Kentucky proud.
yeah,
You love living here in the state of Kentucky.
Hey, listen, yes. Look, I'm fourth generation Kentuckian. I'm a proud Kentucky Colonel. I just believe this state, and this also comes from the research that we've done, this state so often gets overlooked and gets dismissed and gets diminished and gets disqualified. It's just like...
Not to be proud of.
Exactly. It's like, stop it. We as the citizens, we as just the community, we have a role to help change that. We really do. And part of it's just going, no, you want to insult Kentucky? I'm going to stand up for Kentucky.
Thank you.
You want to overlook Kentucky? I'm going to look right at Kentucky. I'm going to bring it right to the forefront. Because you know what? We got a lot of great stuff here. So I'll die on that hill. Maybe not, I won't die. But I'm going to stand on that hill and I'll stand at the top of it and I'll just proclaim it. I love Kentucky and I'm proud to be part of that conversation. So heck yeah, that's where we're going to be.
I love hearing that, Shawn. I feel the same. I always say that the Louisville and Kentucky as a state is a great place to raise adults. And I love it. I do love this state. So with that being said, you're helping enhance the state and its flavor profile.
The state and its flavor profile, and if you're a resident here and you already love our great bourbons and ryes, well, here's a great way to make them into a cocktail. And if you're a visitor, we know all about those guys because the KDA has been a client of ours for years, the Kentucky Distillers Association, so we know those guys, we know our visitors. Then come on in, visit our great state, have a wonderful cocktail. Take a bottle home, take a couple bottles home. Take the big bottle home, the 750, take a little 2-ounce bottle home, make your drink better too.
So there are different bitters here. So the samples we have in front of us, these cocktails, tell me what I'm going to be tasting here, Shawn.
All right, so here's what we've got. So this over here, this is just a straightforward smoky old fashioned. So this is a nice Kentucky rye, not going to tell you which one. It's a nice Kentucky rye, 2 ounces, 1/2 ounce of our smoky simple syrup. Now our smoky simple syrup, I'm super excited about this. This is, you've seen mash bills that are in the bottles, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is our mash bill for our smoky simple syrup. It's 100% turbinado sugar, which is that same as that sugar in the raw, like you see at a coffee shop.
Okay.
We take that turbinado sugar.
Does it make a difference?
It does. It makes a huge difference because turbinado is minimally processed. You're going to get a lot of those rich molasses flavors. We love that because that molasses is going to play with those caramel and butterscotch notes in your bourbon. That's huge, right? Because remember, the bourbon's not broken, so we want to complement it, right? So we turn that in. It looks like this. It's that dark. That's the syrup, for goodness sake. It's a clear bottle that you're looking at. We add to that an oak infusion, so you're going to get a nice smoky flavor. Not overwhelming, super smooth, a nice smoky sweet. To that, we add our 5-spice orange bitters. I won't tell you what the 5 spices are, right? Just like the Colonel, I'm going to keep some of that secret, but I'll tell you 2 of them. Scratch that. Cardamom, green cardamom.
What's cardamom?
Yeah, so great question. Green cardamom is actually the leading ingredient in chai tea.
Oh, interesting.
Exactly.
And I love that flavor. So
exactly.
And I could see where that would complement bourbon.
Right.
In my mind.
It does. And here's the thing. And a lot of people think that green cardamom is sweet because we think about it like in a chai, so it's like in a latte. It's got a lot of milk and sugar. Green cardamom is actually kind of an earthy flavor, right? So you get kind of that earthiness, which
much
does
like
play,
bourbon.
Exactly, much like bourbon. Well, here's one of the other ingredients that we have in there: caraway seed, which is a leading ingredient in rye bread. So you never think about caraway and cardamom playing together, but they actually play together incredibly well. So they go in.
They play together. I like that.
They play together. And here's the thing, and they complement those spicy notes in that rye, right? So this plays with the caramels and the butterscotch. This plays with those spicy notes in that rye, or even like a bottled and bond, like a slightly higher proof bourbon. So it comes together, works out super well. You're welcome to taste it if you'd like.
Oh,
that's it.
Believe me, I'm ready.
Okay.
So
You can.
you recommend I begin here?
Begin there. That's a great one. Go ahead.
Almost did that. Ooh, I like the smell.
Let me do one other thing before you do.
Okay.
So this is our 5-spice orange bitters.
You're making me wait now, Shawn.
The difference is this is an atomizer. Now smell it.
Oh. Man, you got all the secrets. You want to wow your guests for Christmas? What a great gift. You give them this, and it's like, wow, why does yours smell so much better? It's like,
I can smell it right
well,
here.
you
I mean,
have all the
I'm sitting
details.
exactly, and that's the thing. It's a great finish. It's in the cocktail, but now you're getting that nose. So it brings out the citrus. It brings out the baking spices that are in there. There's some cool stuff.
Can I?
Please.
You want to join me?
I'm going to do this. This is the Nutty Old Fashioned, which uses our newly released black walnut. That is a true deep earthy.
And very Kentucky, black walnut.
Very Kentucky. So very different profile. That's going to be a little more orange, a little more citrus. There's going to be a little deeper, earthier flavor.
Okay, this is exactly what I talked about when I opened up the segment. I want the wow factor. I don't want to taste a cocktail and go, it's pretty good. I'm going to go, an experience. This is an experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Supposed to be.
I kid you not. Obviously you're a guest on the show. I want to make this look good. This is no exaggeration, folks. Bluegrass Bitters. I'm telling you. So there are different kinds of bitters. You offer an array of bitters, correct?
Yeah. So at the moment we have two. We have our 5-spice orange, and we have the black walnut. We're going to be bringing out a spiced cherry. We're going to bring that out at the first part of the year, and then the third product we have is, of course, the syrup. So we've got we've got three products, the 2 different treatments of the 5-spice orange, then we'll be bringing out the cherry in the spring. And then as we go in, because again, we've only been on the market, 79 days. So we're pretty new. As we go farther in, there are other products that we'll be bringing out into the portfolio, but right now this is what we're starting with.
So, Shawn, there are folks out there watching and they say, well, I'm a bourbon aficionado. I have this collection and I know all this. But if you want to take it to another level.
Absolutely.
And I think really, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of it is the tradition of bourbon and the drinking and the camaraderie. This is not only delicious, it's a conversation piece. That's part of it, isn't it?
It is. A big part of it is just how do you have that conversation? How do you enjoy it? And I like to say this. I know a lot of people, again, the research geek in me. I talked to...
This is so good.
I'm glad you're...
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're
I'm talking
fine.
to myself. I'm going, this is so good.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really am. One of the things that we see with people is they say, well, Shawn, I love an old fashioned. I go, well, that's great. And I go, tell me, because I'm just being in conversation. I go, what's your recipe? I'm just curious. Cause I can tell you 2 or 3 recipes. What's yours? And sometimes and oftentimes I'll get this with guys and they're like, well, and they're like, and they're sort of breaking eye contact and they're like, well, I like it when I go out to a restaurant, but I don't really make them at home. And I go, well, what do you do at home? They go, well, I just have it neat. And I go, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with neat. I said, but why are you doing that? And they're like, well, because I don't really know how to make a great old fashioned.
Don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly. So they're like, so I'll have it when I'm out, but when I'm at home, not that they settle for neat, but like they want a cocktail, right? So one of the things that we do is we want to have great ingredients. We want to have great recipes. We want to make it really simple. And we say, follow the recipes and you will have a great drink. We try to make just absolutely fail-proof cocktails so that they're going to be really, really good. You can elevate them and go crazy and tweak the ratios. Don't. You don't have to do that, right? If you just follow the ratios, you're going to have an outstanding.
See, you're a perfect person for this, not just because you articulate it well, but because there is a science part of it, and that's the way your brain works. Is your wife the same way? Does her brain work in a scientific kind of way, or is she more the palate?
She is, well, both. She is by trade, she is a CPA, she is a partner, and get this, her specialty is bank taxation. So like, I'm super technical, and compared to her, I look like a slacker,
Wow.
right? She's super technical.
You got the right woman.
Yeah, I tell you what. So when she starts to give feedback, it can be very, very precise. But she's also one of those who'll say like, I don't know, I just didn't like it. And I'm like, okay, I need something more, honey. Like, what didn't you like? She's like, I don't know, I just did. So she can run hot and cold, to be candid, but she is a super precise, super technical human being. Yeah, she's special.
What kind of reviews are you getting? You mentioned the Kentucky Distillers Association. I'm very familiar.
Oh,
what
yeah.
What kind of reviews are you getting from bourbon experts, bourbon aficionados, people who write about bourbon? I would think your reviews are fantastic. It's almost like you're the missing piece.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on where you go. Some people are still in that sort of purist mindset, and they're going, if you put anything other than an ice cube in there, you have violated the sanctity of bourbon. Okay, I'm not going to fight that battle. If somebody feels that way, good. There's no bitters. Yeah,
stick to it.
Exactly. Stick to it. Exactly. That's you. But if I'm talking to a bartender, if I'm talking to a home bartender, and if I'm talking to somebody candidly who just appreciates variety or a complex flavor profile, they'll say, look, yeah, I've got a great bourbon and I love to have it neat. But other times I don't want to have it neat. Maybe I just want to have, I want to have a cocktail, or I want to have, a spritz of the orange, or I just appreciate the variety. So those people love it because, again, it's the high quality ingredients. We're honoring the bourbon. We're playing with it very well. It's doing all the things that everybody wants to do. We just sort of stepped in and kind of figured out how to do it.
I'm going to drop a name here only because he's been on the show and I don't think he'd mind. Joe Molioco, the owner of Michter's. He is very particular about his cocktails. So when we visit a restaurant that serves his product, he'll literally order 5 different cocktails, and he may only take a sip, and he does, only a sip of each one, but he wants to see if you're doing it right, if you're treating my bourbon right. I would think that bourbon distillers, master distillers, owners, they probably love your product because it's like, okay, you're elevating the product.
Yeah. There's again, being so new on the market, there are so many things that we're lining up for 2026 that I can't talk about, but I'm going to tell you this. I'm in a lot of those exact conversations. Not with everybody, of course, because some people are like, oh, don't mix my stuff with anything. Okay, fine. You do you.
And don't get me wrong, straight is fantastic.
Exactly. And again, and if they want to do that, then that's cool. Again, I don't need to fight that fight. But there are a whole bunch of other people who are saying, either from a brand side that they want to expand their portfolio, so they want to be able to talk about how they can offer it in cocktails, or they want to do a co-brand, right? So they offer their bourbon with maybe a bottle of bitters, right, in a package. I'm having several conversations about that. Or a lot of people are just going, hey, you know what? It's cool if you want to drink it neat, but why are we alienating cocktail drinkers? Because sometimes when we go, oh, well, if you do anything other than ice, that's a little rude to somebody who likes an old fashioned. And let's be honest, in this state, we sell a lot of old fashions.
Yes.
So if you're anti-cocktail, I mean, you're almost anti-America if you're anti-old fashioned, for goodness sakes.
It's a little elitist, a little condescending.
Right.
I know bourbon so well that I don't need to mix it with anything. Hey, to me, it's to each his own.
Absolutely. And again, right, this is our heritage when we're talking about the old fashioned, right? I mean,
the bourbon's still prevalent here. I mean, it's delicious.
Right, exactly. And that's the whole thing. And that's part of the ethos of Bluegrass Bitters. Again, you've heard me say it again and again. We respect the bourbon. It's not broken, okay? And there's some bad bourbons out there, but let's be blunt. There's a lot of really good bourbons we have in this state. We are truly
we're proud of that, yes.
Absolutely we are. So we're not trying to fix a broken bourbon and turn it into a good cocktail. We're trying to enhance a great bourbon and turn that great bourbon into a great bourbon cocktail. That's what Bluegrass Bitters is all about. They've given us sort of the foundation. We're just building the rest of the house on top of it.
I always know if Joe loves a cocktail because, like I said, he'll usually take a sip and put it aside, and he'll either talk to the bartender or mixologist or pour, he'll pull out the person who's in charge of, and say, and tell them, hey, this recipe's a little off. If he takes 2 sips, then it's really good.
That's the sign.
In this case, I think he's going to say, I'm holding on to this one. This is delicious.
That's what we like to see.
Manhattan?
Interestingly enough, this one we call the burnt orange. We do have a Manhattan recipe.
It's more cherry, but you can do a Manhattan with orange, can't you?
You can do a Manhattan with orange. We like the Manhattan with the black walnut. So what's really interesting is if you do that for the Manhattan, sometimes we'll use a rye. We also like just to get a nice wheated bourbon in there, right? So if you do a nice wheated bourbon and then you play with that black walnut, because it's a true black walnut, so you're going to get that deep earthy flavor. So you got that little bit sweeter profile with that wheated bourbon, and then you get that deep, dark, earthy flavor of that black walnut. That plays really well together in a Manhattan. Do that little bit of vermouth, put a single cocktail cherry in there. That works wonderful. But this is a little play. It's the same ingredients that you have in your old fashioned right there, except for this presentation we call it the burnt orange, right? So it's the same thing.
You're smiling. You know I'm going to like this, don't you? You know this, John.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And we take it, we mix it up in the vessel, strain it, pour it into a coupe glass. If we're doing it at home, we'll usually do a chilled coupe glass. And then we we put on top of that, we float a dehydrated orange slice. It's an absolutely outstanding cocktail, presents a little bit different, tastes just slightly different than the old fashioned.
Why dehydrated? Is it because you don't want to overpower it with orange? Why dehydrated?
So we like the dehydrated as much as anything else. We think it looks good. It doesn't overpower. It'll stay in the drink and sort of hold its own character for a while. And again, we're trying to get that balance of, yes, we want we want sort of the garnish in terms of how it looks, but then we also want just a little bit of the flavor profile to come in there as well. So it works well. What we like about this drink is it tends to work very, very well for people who are new to bourbon, which we think that's important. We don't want to disrespect those people. If you're new to the bourbon journey, we want approachable cocktails. And approachable cocktails doesn't mean overly sweet. It just means not overpowering, right? So it's a very balanced cocktail. It looks good. It's really nice. So people who are new to it find it very approachable. People who are accustomed to bourbon will say, ooh, I like this. It doesn't have the big rock in there, so they can start to play with the complexity that's in there. So they taste it a little bit differently on the palate. That's what that one is.
So I would think you may have actually had bourbon aficionados, people who love it just with the rock straight up. You may have made them do a 180, and they drink and they go, okay, this does still, it respects my bourbon.
Exactly.
But yet it gives me something a little bit different if I'm in the mood. Do you mind grabbing that for me, because I will spill something. Thank you so much. All right, Shawn.
Try it.
So burnt orange.
Burnt orange. It's our flagship.
Is this done with a rye or a wheated bourbon?
That is actually done with a rye this morning. Only because I batched it up this morning. But if I was making it at the house, I'd probably use a wheated.
Oh yeah. This has a Christmassy holiday.
I
could see serving this up, Thanksgiving, Christmas, right?
It works very, very well. I think it works well year round. But again, I'm one of those bourbon drinkers. Some people say the black walnut. They're like, oh, I love black walnut for fall cocktails. I'm like, I love black walnut in the middle of July. I'm fine with that. But that does play very well in the holidays because it does allow, particularly with the glass, it's very open, so it allows some of those herbal notes and those baking spices to come through a little bit more on the nose.
I would think that you have been very successful with Bluegrass Bitters because not only have you found a niche, it's delicious, and there is a science to it. So for those who may have put out a bitter, to me it's like, okay, you tried that, that's great.
Right.
Give us a shot, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We're
different.
Yeah. If you've tried one of the and here's the thing, locally there's almost nothing in the state of Kentucky just because the legal requirements to get through. I mean, there are two separate federal approvals you have to make these if you're doing them right. So on the local level, very, very little is out there. On the federal level, sort of national level, yeah, we've got some big players out there that everybody knows of, Angostura and things like that, guys that we're not going to knock off. But if you want a good Kentucky-based bitters, and let's be honest, it should be Kentucky-based for all the reasons we've talked about. And hell, where else are you going to get bourbon? I know they make it in other places, but not really.
Not really.
Right?
No, they don't.
It's a good Kentucky bourbon. And why are we putting something beside our Kentucky bourbon that isn't even made in this state? In some cases, not even made in this country. Doesn't make a darn bit of sense. Needs to be made right here. It needs to be a homegrown product that sits homegrown, made in Kentucky, sitting in the glass right beside that Kentucky bourbon. Let's have a good cocktail.
Sold. I am sold.
There it is, brother.
You want to be a hit at a holiday party, and not only via the taste buds, which I think is the most important, but that's a priority. But also conversation piece. Come off as an expert, and you will be, and you also educated as far as not bourbon, but as you said, elevating, taking it to another level, and giving people choices.
Exactly. No, it's all of that. And what I find a lot of times, and again, like if you go to our website and if you follow us on our socials, you subscribe to our newsletter, every month we put out another cocktail, right? And those are seasonal. I know, right? So the newsletter that went out today, we've got an apple cider. So it's a smoky bourbon apple cider cocktail. So it's perfect for the fall. It's bourbon forward, so it plays with the apple very well, but it's not a bourbon punch. It's a cocktail, right? Or it's not an apple cider punch, it's a cocktail. What we're going to have next month, and as we get into prepping for like bringing a large thing to Christmas event or whatever, is we're actually going to have more like a spiced cider, so almost like a mulled cider with bourbon in it, and that's going to be more like an apple cider forward, where you just get like that bourbon back end, and that becomes the key. So if you want to be the hit at the party, you've got to really have a good drink, and you got to know what's going into your drink. So, and it isn't just, again, we can take the same 5 ingredients. We can take apple cider, and we can take bourbon, and we can take some bitters, and we can take some, but you can mix those up 57 dozen different ways, and each one is going to give you a different flavor profile, and that matters. So it's not just throwing them into a pot or throwing them into a pan or throwing them into a glass and saying, here it is, it's good. No, it's really going, okay, I'm going to put these together 20 different ways, and we're going to try and select the best one, and we're going to offer that to you. You want to tweak it? Go ahead. but we want to offer you something that says, do it like this and it'll be great. Do it another way and it can be great too, but do it like this. I'm just going to promise you I got success right here on this card with these products. Yes. Let's go. I want to set these people up to be a hero. Yeah, exactly.
I can vouch.
Exactly.
And I don't want to get into your and Kathy's financials or Bluegrass Bitters financials,
Sure.
But thus far, relatively new, you've had success. This is going well.
We've had success. This is going well. Obviously, we're just starting. And Kathy and I said, this is one of the things, and it's one of the nice things about being married to a great person and literally my best friend. Now that sounds cliche, but she is. And a CPA.
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Because we were going through all this stuff. And she said, I'm like, all right, well, honey, this is what the flavor scientists are going to cost, and this is going to be the next step. And and again, I run a business, so I'm familiar with numbers. She's a CPA, obviously she is. So we went through and we're putting this all together, and she goes, well, let's just try it. Let's just try it. And at this point in our careers, right? So we're both in our mid-50s. So at this point in our careers, we're not sitting here going, people say, are you bootstrapping it? And I'm like, well, okay, that's the technical definition, but we're not worried about our making our mortgage, right? So that's one of the nice things about starting a business at this age is you can just sit here and go, we've got the money to do it right. Nobody ever has the money to waste. I think that's foolish. But we've got the money to do it right. We've got plenty of people who have come up to us and said, at some point, you're going to probably want investors. And if you do, put me on that list. I'm not, we got a list of 10 people looking in that friends and family circle. And they said, yeah, no. But they came to us and they said, we just know if you ever do it. And I'm going to be blunt. I don't want to. I love those guys. But if we did, what a great endorsement, what a great shot in the arm when somebody goes, hey, I know you, I know the product, and if you ever decide to do it, I'm willing to put in money. And it's like, thank you. Whether we do it or not, who cares? Just thank you that they cared that much and have that much faith.
Just by talking to you, I think one thing, they know the way your mind works. They know you're going to do it right. Your wife as well. And I think that speaks to, and your integrity and your passion is contagious. Yeah. So they feel that.
Well, and it probably doesn't hurt that I've run a successful research company for over a quarter of a century. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a track record.
You know success.
Yes, exactly. Know how to run a profitable company. That's important.
Well, we realize that your taste buds know success. So once again, before I let you go, if people would like to purchase this for holiday gifts, or they just want to check you out, where do they go?
Sure. Online, you can go to our website, bluegrassbitters.net, or our store is at shop.bluegrassbitters.net. So go there. Our whole portfolio is online. We do direct-to-consumer all the time. We ship every single day. In addition to that, if you're looking local, you can go to Art Eatables down on Main Street. Now, they don't carry our black walnut because they're a nut-free shop, but they do carry our other products. So you can go to Art Eatables on Main Street. If you're looking to try us on a menu, go to Bardstown Bourbon Company. They've got a old-fashioned called Bacon Me Crazy that features our smoky simple syrup and a candied bacon crumble. It's crazy. It is super good. So they've got that at Bardstown Bourbon Company. Also at Nami Steakhouse, they have a really cool drink that they put together that uses our 5-spice orange bitters. So we got a few places around town you can pick it up, and we're working on the list every single day. We're working on adding new people.
All right. Once again, Bluegrass Bitters. Shawn, I've enjoyed the conversation.
Brother, thank you.
You don't mind if I keep this?
Yes, sir. That's yours. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us on Gaining Interest, and check out Bluegrass Bitters. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Here's to you.